The Solarian Confederacy had ruled this sector of the galaxy for over 1,000 cycles. A civilization forged in the crucible of conquest and perfected by centuries of war. Their fleets were monuments to their dominance, massive dreadnoughts that could withstand planetary bombardments, agile cruisers that struck with the precision of a scalpel, and swarming fighter wings that could overwhelm any known defense in moments. Every officer had been trained from youth in combat, strategy, and the unyielding art of domination. Every fleet movement, every engagement, was guided by doctrine honed over countless victories. In the eyes of the Solarian hierarchy, the galaxy was predictable. Civilizations rose and fell, and the Confederacy, unchallenged, reigned supreme. Yet, on this day, as the flagship dreadnought Imperator led the fleet through the outer reaches of their claimed territory, an anomaly flickered across the long-range sensor arrays. At first, the officers assumed a minor cosmic disturbance, a radiation surge, an asteroid cluster, perhaps even a malfunction in the sensor grid. But as the readings persisted, refinement after refinement, the anomaly resolved itself into something impossible. Lieutenant Arthak's claws trembled slightly as he reported the data, his antennae twitching nervously. "Admiral, it's accelerating faster than any known propulsion system. Its mass, it's immense. Hull composition, unclassified. Energy readings lethal, yet unmatched by any species cataloged. And it's heading directly toward us." Admiral Varick's segmented eyes narrowed, each facet reflecting the scanning overlays. His mandibles clicked in disbelief. "Impossible. We control this sector. No known civilization, no fleet, no vessel could reach us here undetected. Amplify the analysis. Hull integrity, energy emissions, propulsion signature, life forms, everything." The arrays responded, and what came back shattered every expectation. The object resolved into a single vessel, a human warship. Massive, angular, yet oddly smooth, its hull shimmered as if alive, reflecting starlight in patterns that made the Solarian engineers' instruments fail to classify the material. Smaller vessels, gunships, interceptors, and dropships emerged from its hangars with frightening precision, arranging themselves in formations that were mathematically perfect, yet fluid and adaptable. Every movement suggested intent, anticipation, and intelligence that surpassed even the most advanced AI systems the Confederacy possessed. "Fleet Commander Arthak's voice shook as he barked over the comms. "Admiral, they're coordinated. Entire formations anticipate our fleet's movements. Every vector we plot, they adjust instantly." How is this possible?" Varick leaned over the console, his mandibles clicking with an unease he had never known. He had faced thousands of battles, confronted species that had dominated their own star systems for millennia, yet nothing prepared him for this. "Signal them. Establish communication. Identify their intentions immediately. Perhaps this is a scouting vessel, perhaps." But the humans did not communicate. There was no greeting, no transmission, no hesitation. The Sentinel of Terra, as the human ship would later be known, pivoted imperceptibly in the void, observing the Solarian fleet as a predator would a herd of deer on the edge of a cliff. And then the small vessels launched, not chaotically, not recklessly, but with calm, deliberate precision. Gunships weaved among the Solarian plasma volleys, dodging with near-instantaneous reflexes, while their rail cannons struck multiple cruisers simultaneously, slicing through shields and armor as though they had been designed specifically to counter the Confederacy. Dropships descended, delivering Marines an armor that gleamed with a faint iridescence. The exosuits allowed them to move at impossible speeds in zero gravity, clambering across hulls, bypassing security systems, and neutralizing weapons in seconds. Entire bridge crews were incapacitated before the Salarian officers could issue commands, and automated defense arrays were hacked or destroyed with frightening efficiency. Admiral Varick's voice dropped to a near whisper as he tried to process the impossible. They anticipate everything, every maneuver, every strategy. They are acting before we even move. Across the fleet, whispers of disbelief spread like wildfire. Officers glanced at each other with wide eyes, antennae twitching nervously. This was not a species engaging in battle. They were witnessing something fundamentally different. The humans were predators, warriors born of worlds that had shaped them to survive the impossible, and they were demonstrating mastery that the Salarian doctrine could not even begin to explain. The Sentinel of Terra remained calm, deliberate, and authoritative. Gunships flared out in patterns that encircled and restrained the Salarian vessels without ever overlapping fire or creating a vulnerability. Dropships lowered squads of Marines to strategic points on capital ships, disabling power nodes, communication lines, and weapon systems with the efficiency of a predator dismantling a trap. Every movement was calculated, every strike perfect. Fleet Commander R. Thak's voice cracked over the comms. They are not reacting. They are dictating the flow of battle. Every counter we attempt is anticipated, every attack neutralized. Admiral, we are outclassed. Admiral Varick did not respond immediately. His segmented eyes scanned the battlefield, watching as his once proud fleet, trained for a millennium, faltered under the precision and lethality of a single human warship and its supporting craft. The horror was absolute. Centuries of doctrine, fleets built to dominate the galaxy, and the pride of 1,000 campaigns all rendered irrelevant by one species. A low murmur spread among the bridge officers. They are perfect predators. The void itself seemed to react. Sensor arrays recorded impossible distortions as the humans shifted positions, their ships moving like extensions of a single consciousness. The Salarian fleet was paralyzed not by weapons, not by brute force, but by the realization that they had never faced a being capable of predicting, anticipating, and executing with such flawless precision. The humans did not gloat, did not pause, did not waste energy. They simply existed as a presence so commanding, so unassailable, that the Salarian officers felt the crushing weight of fear for the first time in their lives. The centuries-old sense of invincibility, the belief that no species could challenge the Confederacy, was obliterated in moments. And in the quiet tension before the first volley, the Salarian fleet realized the truth. This was no ordinary enemy. This was not a diplomatic mission, not an exploration. The humans were predators, hunters, and warriors who had mastered the art of survival to a degree the galaxy had never known. The quiet before the storm had ended. The storm, the inexorable, precise, and unstoppable force of humanity, was about to begin. The Sentinel of Terra did not announce its assault with fanfare. There were no warnings, no hails, no attempts at negotiation, only the calm, deliberate execution of tactics honed by centuries of surviving worlds that could kill everything weaker than themselves. Gunships poured from its hangars in near-perfect formation, weaving through the Salarian fleet like living predators. Plasma volleys fired from the Confederacy's cruisers arched through space, Yet the humans dodged effortlessly, anticipating each shot before it was even fully discharged. Rail cannons on the human gunships flared silently, piercing frigates and destroyers with surgical precision. Shields that had never failed in 100 engagements melted under strikes that left behind only floating debris. In moments, the first wave of the Solarian fleet began to falter, confused and terrified by an enemy that seemed to predict their every maneuver. Dropships descended upon capital ships with deliberate grace, opening hatches that released Marines in shimmering exosuits. These soldiers moved with terrifying speed and efficiency, climbing across hulls and bypassing automated defenses with surgical intent. In seconds, weapon turrets were silenced, communication lines severed, and bridge crews incapacitated. Entire dreadnoughts, pride of the Solarian fleet, became drifting tombs of powerlessness. Fleet Commander Arthak's voice broke over the comms, claws clattering on his console. They anticipate our every move. Every attack we launch is neutralized before it even begins. How is this possible? Captain Alethea Grayson's calm, measured voice cut across the void, an unshakable presence amidst chaos. Solarian fleet, identify your intentions and withdraw. Compliance will prevent unnecessary casualties. The Solarian officers froze. They had never been addressed with such authority by another species, let alone a species whose combat capability outmatched them so completely. They had never faced a fleet that acted faster than their calculations, that adapted instantaneously, that moved with instinctive precision no algorithm could match. The human gunships danced through the void, each movement measured, precise, and deliberate. Dropships continued their descent, Marines moving as shadows, silently dismantling key systems aboard the Solarian dreadnoughts. Rail fire from the human smaller craft tore through isolated capital ships, eliminating threats before their crews could respond. Each strike was a masterstroke of anticipation, and the Solarian fleet had no response. A dreadnought attempted a flanking maneuver, surging forward to intercept the humans. Its massive rail cannons flared in anger, disintegrating several approaching gunships, but the humans adjusted instantly. New formations spread around the dreadnought. New dropships deposited Marines to neutralize critical systems, and the ship faltered, crippled by the surgical strikes of soldiers who moved faster, smarter, and deadlier than any Solarian combatant. Even as devastation unfolded, the humans did not hesitate or overextend. They maintained a disciplined formation, covering each other, controlling the battlefield like a single conscious entity. They did not kill for sport or pride. They struck to dominate, to assert control, to demonstrate the power of their species. Across the fleet, whispers of disbelief spread. Officers turned to each other, antennae twitching nervously. They anticipate everything. No fleet could survive this. It is impossible. Fleet Commander Fak's voice trembled as he barked futile orders. Concentrate fire. Surround them. Focus all units. Nothing worked. Each attack was anticipated. Each maneuver countered. Each strategic choice neutralized. The humans were not reacting. They were dictating the flow of battle. The Solarian fleet realized in frozen terror that they were no longer masters of the void. They were prey, and the hunters had arrived. The first strike was complete. The Solarian fleet, once confident, was shattered not by numbers, but by precision, adaptability, and sheer mastery. And the humans did not celebrate. They did not linger unnecessarily. They held the battlefield with quiet authority, leaving a message louder than any weapon. Humanity had arrived, and it was unstoppable. The void fell silent, save for the hum of human engines. The Solarian fleet trembled, understanding that centuries of doctrine, strategy, and pride were meaningless against a species that had mastered combat on a level no other civilization could hope to achieve. The first strike had ended, but the terror, the awe, and the legend of humanity had only just begun. The Solarian fleet tried desperately to regain control, but their centuries of training, their finely tuned war doctrines, and their most advanced technologies proved useless against the humans. The Sentinel of Terra and its accompanying gunships did not merely respond, they dictated the flow of combat. Every maneuver the Cialians attempted was anticipated, every countermeasure neutralized before it could even be deployed. In the span of minutes, the once proud dreadnoughts and cruisers of the fleet were reduced to drifting hulks, their crews stunned and broken by the precision of human tactics. Dropships released squads of Marines onto key Solarian vessels. These soldiers moved like shadows, silently and efficiently disabling power nodes, weapon arrays, and bridge command centers. Turrets once considered unstoppable were rendered inert within moments. Command crews, trained to coordinate entire flotillas in battle, were incapacitated with surgical strikes. One by one, capital ships that had survived decades of warfare fell into human control, their systems overridden by technology and instincts the Cialians could not comprehend. A colossal war beast, a Solarian bio-titan bred for space combat, advanced with psychic screams designed to disrupt the senses of enemy officers. The humans did not hesitate. A single Marine in powered exosuit scaled the beast's hull, targeting neural nodes with weaponry that flared with deadly precision. The Titan faltered, fell, and crushed a squadron of escort frigates beneath its massive frame. Another Titan advanced, another Marine met it. Another Titan fell. Within minutes, the Solarian Empire's apex biological weapons, thought to be unstoppable, were reduced to wreckage by a species they had dismissed as insignificant. "Fleet Commander Thax," voice cracked over the comms. "Concentrate fire. Surround them. Target everything." It was futile. Each strategy, each deployment was counted before execution. The humans' movements were fluid, adaptive, and intuitive. Gunships intercepted flanking maneuvers, dropships neutralized critical systems on dreadnoughts, and the Sentinel of Terra shifted position with calm authority, exploiting every weakness in the Solarian formations. Every time a Solarian vessel attempted to regroup or retaliate, it encountered a perfect counter. The humans fought, not just with weapons, but with strategy, speed, and instinct born of worlds, where survival demanded perfection. Sensors aboard the dreadnought Imperator overloaded. Calculations, simulations, and predictive algorithms failed repeatedly. Officers realized the terrifying truth. The humans were not just fighters, they were apex predators, masters of combat and adaptation, capable of outthinking and outmaneuvering the galaxy's most formidable fleets. Even as the battle raged, the humans did not overextend or act recklessly. Every gunship, every Marine, every movement of the Sentinel of Terra was measured and deliberate. The humans were not there to slaughter for glory. They were there to demonstrate mastery. Each strike taught the Cialians a lesson in humility. No amount of training, technology, or numerical superiority could withstand the precision and adaptability of humans in combat. The Cialians' sense of invincibility shattered. Ships, once thought invulnerable, now drifted inert. Marines scoured corridors to disable remaining defenses, and officers struggled to issue orders that were already anticipated and nullified. Across the fleet, whispers of disbelief echoed. They anticipate everything, every maneuver, every counter. They are perfect predators. By the time the first wave of engagement concluded, the Sciolians understood that they were no longer the masters of this void. The humans had established dominance without a single heroic gesture or catastrophic explosion. They had fought and won, not through numbers, but through precision, coordination, and the terrifying efficiency of a species evolved to survive worlds that would have annihilated any other. Fleet Commander Ark, once proud and unflinching, slumped over his console. His antennae twitched in disbelief as he muttered, We underestimated them. Every plan, every doctrine, every advantage meaningless. They are inevitable. The humans held the battlefield, calm and collected, their presence alone a testament to their superiority. They had proven that no species in the galaxy could predict or outmatch them. The Solarian fleet, though not entirely destroyed, was paralyzed in both capability and spirit. The impossible battle had ended, and in the silent aftermath, the galaxy learned a lesson that would echo for generations. Humans were predators, unlike any other, a species forged by death worlds and sharpened by survival, capable of dominating the strongest fleets with the unflinching mastery of both intellect and instinct. The Sentinel of Terra had not only fought, it had rewritten the rules of engagement. And the Sciolians, along with any civilization watching, understood one undeniable truth. The galaxy would never be the same. The void was silent, not the soft hum of distant stars or the muted crackle of empty space, but a silence born of awe, fear, and absolute comprehension. The Solarian fleet drifted among the wreckage of its own pride, crippled and broken by a species it had dismissed as inconsequential. Dreadnoughts, once symbols of imperial might, floated inert, their weapons offline, shields reduced to flickering shadows, and bridge crews incapacitated. Cruisers and frigates had been rendered useless by precise strikes, their engines disabled, their communication systems severed, and their hulls scarred by human rail fire that cut with preternatural accuracy. Dropships continued their work, deploying Marines to finalize the neutralization of key vessels. The humans did not rush, did not overextend. Every movement was deliberate, every strike measured, and every retreat calculated to leave a clear impression. The humans were not merely survivors, they were absolute masters of combat. Gunships darted among the drifting hulks, intercepting isolated vessels, preventing any attempt at regrouping or repair. Even as the fleet lay battered, there was no chaos among the humans, only calm, unshakable control. Admiral Varix's mandibles clicked rapidly as he attempted to comprehend what had occurred. Across the bridge of the dreadnought Imperator, officers were silent, too stunned to issue commands. For the first time in centuries, the fleet's chain of command was paralyzed, not by enemy fire, but by the realization that their understanding of warfare had been shattered. Fleet Commander Thak muttered under his breath, voice trembling. We underestimated them. Centuries of strategy, doctrine, fleets, all meaningless. They are unstoppable. The humans' assault had been surgical, precise, and terrifyingly efficient. Yet they left no unnecessary destruction in their wake. They were predators, not wanton destroyers. Every strike, every marine deployment, every gunship maneuver had a purpose: to assert dominance, to demonstrate the cost of misjudgment, and to leave an indelible mark of their capability across the galaxy. Far beyond the battlefield, other civilizations recorded and observed the aftermath. Data streams captured the human tactics. A single warship and its supporting crafts, systematically neutralizing an empire's fleet without losing a single asset. Scholars and fleet commanders watched, their disbelief slowly giving way to fear and respect. Humans were not myths, not anomalies. They were apex predators, masters of adaptation, and combatants beyond comprehension. Reports filtered into military academies across the sector. Simulations, recordings, and first-hand accounts of humans dismantling warships with terrifying efficiency. Even as the humans began to withdraw, their presence remained a shadow over the Solarian fleet. Dropships retracted their marines, gunships reformed into perfect defensive arrays, and the Sentinel of Terra glided effortlessly through the void, a living testament to human mastery. No words were exchanged. No hails, no taunts, no display of victory. The human's message was unmistakable in its simplicity. They had arrived, and they were not to be underestimated. The Ciarlians, though still numerically strong, were spiritually broken. Their confidence, cultivated over millennia, had been obliterated. Crews that had known only victory now stared in awe and terror at a species that had rendered their advanced technology irrelevant. Officers whispered to one another, antennae quivering. They anticipate everything, every move, every tactic. No fleet could withstand this. Admiral Varix, once proud and unshakable, finally admitted aloud what every Solarian aboard the crippled vessels already knew. This species, they are perfection in war. Every strike, every maneuver inevitable. Humanity, they are death-worlders. The humans did not linger. Their withdrawal was quiet, deliberate, and absolute. Gunships returned to the mothership in flawless formation. Dropships retracted, and the Sentinel of Terra activated its faster-than-light engines, slipping into the void and leaving the wreckage of an empire behind. In its wake, the Solarian fleet remained as a testament to human mastery, a silent warning to any species that might dare underestimate them. The galaxy itself seemed to pause. Across distant sectors, fleets and civilizations absorbed the reports, recalibrating their strategies, doctrines, and assumptions. Humanity had arrived, and its presence would reshape the very notion of power. Legends began to form almost immediately, stories of a single warship capable of dismantling an entire fleet with perfect precision, of marines who moved faster and more efficiently than any alien could react, and of a species whose mastery of combat was absolute. The first contact had ended, but its consequences were only beginning to ripple across the stars. Humanity had demonstrated not only that it could survive among the galaxy's most fearsome empires, but that it could dominate them with an efficiency that defied comprehension. The Solarian fleet had learned, at terrible cost, that there were predators in the galaxy far beyond what they had ever imagined. And from the silent void where the humans had vanished, the message was unmistakable. Misjudging humanity came at a cost. The galaxy would never forget the day humans went to war. The Sentinel of Terra and its fleet had vanished into the infinite black, leaving the Solarian fleet scattered, broken, and humbled. Yet their departure was not a retreat born of fear. It was a demonstration of control, a measured withdrawal that cemented humanity's dominance without a single act of ostentatious victory. Gunships retracted to the Sentinel, dropships returned from capital ships, and the Marines, the very embodiment of human adaptability and lethal efficiency, retreated into the mothership as if the battlefield itself recognized their mastery. Across the shattered Solarian fleet, officers and crews struggled to comprehend the events. Bridges were silent, weapon arrays inert, and the pride that had defined an empire for centuries lay in tatters. Fleet Commander R. Thak stared at the void, unable to speak, antennae trembling. His voice eventually emerged, trembling and raw. We underestimated them. Every fleet, every plan, every doctrine meaningless. Humanity, they are predators. Deathworlders' perfection incarnate. The rest of the galaxy had begun to understand the same truth. Star systems far beyond the sector had intercepted sensor data, deep space comms, and distress signals. Civilians, scholars, diplomats, and military commanders all watched as a single species dismantled a fleet that had dominated this corner of the galaxy for centuries. The humans' actions were precise, efficient, and terrifyingly intelligent. Every move, every strike, every marine deployed was a demonstration of a species that had not merely survived hostile worlds, they had mastered survival to become predators capable of dominating empires. In the weeks that followed, the legend of the encounter spread. Humans were no longer rumors, myths, or obscure survivors of some distant death world. They were apex predators whose presence demanded respect. Diplomatic envoys from every major empire revised treaties, reassessed fleets, and studied every possible record of human engagement. Strategic manuals were rewritten, and commanders debated endlessly about how a single warship could annihilate an entire fleet with no losses. Captain Alethea Grayson's calm voice echoed through recorded transmissions across sectors. We do not seek unnecessary conflict. We answer calls for aid and intervene when others cannot. Misjudging humanity comes at a cost. The words carried authority that was felt even across the void, reaching species unacquainted with humans yet shaken by the undeniable proof of their power. Legends formed immediately. Children on distant worlds spoke in awe of humans who could dismantle a fleet before the enemy knew what had happened. Bards and storytellers wove the tale into myths of interstellar hunters and deathworlders, shaping the imagination of a galaxy that had never seen its light. Scholars meticulously recorded every maneuver, every strike, and every tactic used by the humans, not merely for analysis, but for survival. Even the Solarian Confederacy, once the unchallenged master of this sector, learned a lesson etched in fear and respect. Their pride had been broken, their doctrine invalidated, and their confidence shattered. They realized that when humans arrived, it was not merely an encounter, it was a reckoning. Humanity's dominance was not guaranteed by numbers, ships, or technology alone. It was their mastery of adaptability, their lethal instinct, and their ability to turn even impossible odds into victories that no other species could achieve. The galaxy held its collective breath as humans receded into the stars, leaving silence and awe behind. The humans did not boast. They did not parade their victories. They left only a quiet, unassailable authority that would echo across generations. Empires would tremble, fleets would pause, and the term Deathworlder would come to mean not just a survivor, but a predator of unparalleled skill. The Sentinel of Terra disappeared into faster-than-light space, yet its legacy remained. The first contact had ended, but the story, the legend, had only begun. Every species, every fleet, and every civilization would remember the day humans went to war and emerged not merely victorious, but untouchable, leaving the galaxy forever changed. And in the void, as stars glittered like distant fire, one immutable truth spread across the cosmos. When humans arrive, the galaxy holds its breath, because the predators of the death worlds have awakened, and nothing, not fleets, not weapons, not centuries of dominance can stand unchallenged before them. The legend of humanity had begun, and it would endure for all time.